The journey is conversations with ordinary people about stories of transformation and how we may have had setbacks in our life and how we persevered through those, how we've learned from those obstacles, and how they've maybe helped us on our path today.
Well, welcome to the Journey. My name is Kevin Polky, and I am the host of the Journey. And today we have a first-time guest to the Journey, Frank Slowinski. Just recently, he and I have met, and he has some. We have some mutual friends, mutual people that we both know, and I've been excited about a couple conversations that Frank and I've had, and about some of his ideas from a filmmaking to entrepreneurial to different ways of connecting with different people. So Frank, welcome to the Journey.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's a blessing and an honor to be here. You're a great guy, and you actually spoke at my wife's clinic at Crusader Clinic, and she was impressed. She's like, "Yeah, this bodybuilder dude came up, and he's talking about emotional intelligence." And so you did a great job over there. And I want to, kind of do similar stuff, provide value to people in a efficient manner, and hopefully entertaining enough and compelling that they don't mind looking at my ugly face for too long. So, quick introduction about myself. I'm a bit of a character. It's a kind of a survival mechanism, or maybe a fight or flight response in my DNA, to make people laugh so they don't beat me up or steal my lunch money. I had some issues with childhood bullies, and we've all become friends. Like the kids that picked on me, like I'm trying to think back now, because part of the theme for today, the topics is like the playground and entrepreneurial like programming. But I love making people laugh. It's almost like a nervous tick. Like if someone had OCD and they were like counting the ceiling tiles or whatever, I walk into a room and it's like I'm not even thinking about it. I'm on autopilot, just looking for things that the way Jerry Seinfeld will connect the dots for content, like 24/7. How can I make these people laugh? How can I make them like me? What can I do to make any situation I'm in more fun? Like right now, I'm thinking like, how can we make this even more fun and enjoyable so we can't wait to do it again? And I'm just obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with efficiency. And then brief introduction. I'm a commercial filmmaker, mostly weddings. I'm a college dropout. I had an art scholarship. I wanted to do Disney movies as an animator. And I always joked, or I always told myself I wasn't creative. I was like, I'm not a creative guy, and blah blah blah. And like I was the kind of kid in grade school who was like drawing on everything he could, ideas, like trying to make video games and convincing my friends to like try to make cartoons. And I just loved making stuff that people would enjoy. Um, and long story short, I tried being a rock star, writing original music, and um my struggle with dealing with people's egos, um their personal traumas, now that I kind of understand it, because all of my friends, we grew up in alcoholic households, and I just thought that was like everyone's house. Like, yeah, your dad's an alcoholic. Like that's what dads do. They drink. They love their beer. But I want to offer value to people who may be struggling in that kind of sense with building strong relationships, not how not to burn bridges. Or I'm really good at fixing bridges. I've burned a lot of bridges in my lifetime. Boy, you wouldn't believe I'm a expert at that. So I'm an expert at what not to do with relationships. So I'm working on a book, several books that are interlinked into this ecosystem. So no matter where you're at in life, there's a path for this ecosystem and program to get you back on track. So it kind of starts with habits, and then how badly you've screwed up in life. Like, are you in prison? Are you an ex-convict? How do you repent for, or make amends if you can? If you're eligible for parole, get your life back on track. I've been arrested several times. Uh, my wife's gonna kill me for saying this. I shouldn't say it. But like I think you learn skills, and if you're open to learning, when you screw up, if you don't learn from that, you're just gonna keep screwing up more and more. And I want to help those people too turn their lives around. So I'm just dead set on making the world laugh and creating opportunities for people. Obsessed with it.
So Frank, yeah, thank you for that. Definitely that introduction and one of your personal life missions of being able to be able to help people, be able to help people see a lighter side of things or laugh. Where'd you grow up? Where did you? Are you from the Greater Rockford area?
I'm not. I grew up in Burbank, Illinois, which people may not know of. I I was obsessed with cartoons, especially Warner Brothers and the Tasmanian Devil, and I wanted to make cartoons. So on the back of the box, it's always said "Made in Burbank," comma CA. I'm like, I'm in Burbank, and I always would look for the Warner Brothers studio or like whatever kind of stuff because I didn't know any better. I was like 5 years old, and then like at some point I realized like there's other states that exist, and like there's a world out there beyond Burbank, Illinois.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I grew up in Burbank, and we're notorious for being called Burbillies, and we're kind of like it's almost a nice place to live, but it's almost a kind of crummy place. And then my wife grew up across the streets in Oak Lawn, Illinois, which is fancier and people are a little more sophisticated. Every town has its kind of pockets of troubled areas, but I was I loved attention. I was the kind of child that would run down the street naked, just like as a toddler, and my mom would be like trying to control me. And yeah, just anything for a laugh. I'm obsessed with making people laugh, and it's often at my own expense. And I think that's one of the qualities that I have that now that I think about it, I got to lean into this a little more, but that attracted my wife to me because she's way out of my league and she's way smarter than me, way more attractive and more successful in every way, more disciplined, which I respect about my wife. And I really struggle with that, with all the habits and kind of quirks that I have. So grew up in Burbank, and then um, had this art scholarship, and then started dating my wife in pharmacy school. And she was complete opposite of me. And we I was just I always wanted to bring out the fun in people, and I found out that she likes karaoke. And she worked at a library also. She always had two jobs in her lifetime. She's a very hard worker. And I'm like, I got to see her drunk because I can't imagine this. I got to see her drunk and see her sing. Um, so I get her outside of the workplace, and at this point, I had known her for a few years and worked with her and her sister. And she's great to work with because she just is a hard worker, very efficient, and I'm kind of not. And she hated working with me. I didn't know that at the time, but she's like, yeah, anytime I worked with you, I had to work twice as hard because like you're just goofing off and I'm doing this and that. So long story short, I was trying to learn how to sing and invited her out for karaoke, and it was a cross-dressing party. And we looked into each other's eyes for the first time as we were getting ready for the party at my friend's house. And I was like, oh, this is weird. She's gonna think I'm a weirdo because like she's putting on my mascara and looking into her eyes. I'm like, I think I love this woman. So long story short, I proposed, got married. I got fired. I didn't have a job. I was unemployed at the time when we got married, and I wanted to have a good video. So I obsessed over finding a videographer that I could actually afford. I found a dude on Craigslist that was really talented for $300. He gave me the raw footage to edit for my own wedding, which is kind of like a moral sin in the wedding filmmaking industry. Um, but he was cool enough to do that. And I was like, this guy's making good money. I don't have a job. What the hell am I going to do? My wife's son graduating next year to be a pharmacist, and I want to provide for my family. And I was miserable. I was damn near suicidal. I was working at, I had gotten fired from Walgreens Pharmacy because I swore at a customer because I was covering a shift at my wife's store. And this customer was so nasty. I walked back away from her several times, and she kept pushing my buttons and pushing my buttons. So I told her off. And then she called the police, and they're like, you can't swear at customers, man. Like, I don't know why we're here, but like, don't do that. And it took them Walgreens like a week to fire me because everyone loved me there. Everyone was like rooting for me. They're like, yeah, we back you up, Frank. I would have swore at her too. They actually had a file on this customer, and they're trying to get her banned from the store because she was so nasty. Um, so I got fired. We got married. I got hired at CVS Pharmacy. Most miserable workplace and horrible toxic work culture I've ever experienced. It was god awful. I was getting to the point of suicide because I hated my life, and I I reached out when we had moved to Rockford because the Rockford district was hiring for Walgreens pharmacists, and Laura took an opportunity out here. So we're like, we'll try it. It's only 2 hours away from Burbank. It's close to home. Give it a shot. And I begged people. I kept begging this guy, Josiah Shostrom. I was like, dude, let me buy you lunch. Let me scrub your toilets. I'll do whatever it takes. Like, just teach me how to shoot video. Like, teach me how to be a filmmaker, a videographer. I'll do anything. I'll come to your studio. I didn't know any better because he was producing local TV commercials, and I thought he had a studio, and he was running his business out of his basement at the time. So I thought he was like this, super successful, like well established, like to give him credit, he was doing well for he was young at the time. He was like in his 20s. But I was obsessed with doing work that I was proud of. And his production company, Bonza Media, their slogan is quality is the difference. So him and I saw eye to eye on that. He finally agreed to do lunch with me. We met at Panera. I was like, thank you for meeting me. I appreciate this. I'll do it. I just worked for free to um, learn how to do what he does. And then kind of fast forward, I've gained the skill of quality video production. Helped him Josiah on projects for Insurance King, for some of their TV commercials, and got my skill set to a point to being proud of my work is so important to me, and also having fun at work. Like, if I'm not having fun, I'm miserable. I really am. I just don't see the point. You spend so much time at your workplace, and it's like your second family. Why not create a culture and a workplace environment that's fun? But I'm learning now, before I pass the mic to you, is where's the boundaries with people? Where is too much humor, and everyone's sense of humor is different. And when you got on a set for a video shoot with like 30 people for several days, like, people could get tired of your crap and not want to work with you. And so it's a very fine line when you're wired the way I am and you want to make people laugh, and you're not a comedian, and people expect you to work and get the job done. And then, at that point, people are tired and want to go home, and you want to hang out and have like an after party or a rap party. So that's something I'm struggling with, but I'll pass the mic to you, and then we glance at the notes and kind of take it from there. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on all that kind of
Well,
grand
yeah.
stuff.
Well, it's interesting, Frank. You mentioned Laura was at one of my talks when I spoke on emotional intelligence and empathy, and briefly, what emotional intelligence is really about self-awareness about what's going on within me, and then me managing what's going on within me so that I can then be open to who I'm interacting with, right?
Mm.
And so many times when we're interacting with someone, we're busy thinking about us, and we don't pick up on any clues or cues from the person we're interacting with, and we miss the target, right? And so it's like, and so really that day when I was there, it was really about working with the leadership team, so that they then could be in a position of being aware of what's going on. Either I'm in a good mood, a bad mood, I'm nervous, whatever's going on, in identifying that. But then what am I doing to manage that so that I can be an open vessel to be able to be open to interact with a person, regardless if it's a team member, if it's a customer, if it's just a friend. And I bet you anything, when you do that, then that part of you that naturally sees the lighter or the funny side of things, it will more times than not hit its target. It's when how it is when we try too hard, then we're
Yeah,
making it about us, we're not making it about them. and
make it
and
worse. Yeah.
right, and then it's a dud, right, and that's what ends up happening. But yeah, I just thinking back about that time when I was the last time I was at Crusader, when we talked about that topic. I know that was the real intent of why I was doing that workshop for them, just so they could, there's some really good leaders there already, but what's some things that they can put in their tool belt to help them in those leadership development skills, so. Excuse me.
Right.
But Frank, speaking of a workshop that I just recently did, I did it last week for NAMI, the Northern Illinois NAMI, and I'm going to be doing a series for a local school district that unfortunately is struggling right now because they lost a student and one of their staff to suicide in the past school year. They're asking me to come in and talk about the youth mental health crisis that the Surgeon General identified, and specifically the impact of social media. And what they've identified, the Surgeon General and some other researchers have identified that our Generation Z, individuals who are between the ages of 11 years old and 26 years old, they in give or take on both ends of that, they are identified as Generation Z. They also have been identified as the individuals who've had a tremendous spike in anxiety and depression since the early around 2010, 2012, during that window of time, 2014, during that window of time, we've seen this increase of anxiety and depression, and then also people taking their lives um, result of suicide because of feeling hopeless. It happens to coincide at the same time that the smartphone came out and front-facing cameras came out. And so the talk that I'm going to be doing is the impact of social media. And one of the antidotes, not gonna get into all the details regarding that right now, but one of the antidotes is what you were referring to earlier, and that is the benefit of in-person play, this unstructured or a time period when children and youth are able to interact with each other and learn how to problem solve and be creative and innovative, and do that naturally. Generation Z has been the first generation that had smartphones, and that became something that was distracting them when interacting with each other. So you were talking earlier about some of your memories of before we got on the show, your memories of growing up at the lunch table, in the playground. Yeah, what do you remember regarding that? And you were tying it directly into entrepreneurship, but then also resilience. What kind of comes to mind when we were talking about those time periods?
Yeah, I was always inventive. The wheels were like, I'd say, always turning, and like, how can I elevate the experience for people and make it more intense or fun or memorable? We invented a game called Animal Ball during recess where there were literally no rules, and it was it was kind of terrible, but like it was just to like create a ruckus and like just throw balls at people. And it was a terrible game, but there was like, it ironically started off with good intentions, because I saw like all these balls, like those big dodgeballs, like there's a huge bin of them available at recess, and I just thought it would be hilarious to like have like uh dodgeball and like try to get like a some kind of school-wide movement going, like, all right, like everyone just goes nuts, like a food fight but with dodgeballs. I love that kind of spontaneous energy, like in Disney movies when you see a bunch of people break into song, like that doesn't happen in the workplace, that doesn't happen at school. um I would love to live in a world where that kind of stuff was kind of normal, like Casual Friday, yeah, Mixtape Mondays, where like your boss or CEO walks in with a boombox and starts freestyling. Who knows? Like in a world with spontaneous song, like in the movies, that would be a brighter world for all.
Sure.
So, but the early memories. Um, I just remember there was like this inverse square law of like making certain people laugh, and then there would be like a positive reaction, then a negative reaction. Like for as much as I made this group of people laugh, this group of people would get pissed off. And then so and so's brother would come up and punch me in the stomach or something because I made a bad joke or I owed him money, or I created a magazine that I drew by hand. It was a cartoon because I'm a good artist. So I would draw all these people would pay me money to do their homework for art class or their art projects. But I created the Burbank newsletter, and I didn't know copy machines existed. I was like maybe 7 years old. And so I created a magazine because there's Disney Adventures was my favorite like little magazine. It was like that big with a little cartoon and comic strips. I'm like, I'm gonna make one of these. So I made cartoons about like other people at school, like they were characters. And I would draw each copy for each customer by hand. So like I had 3 customers, I would make a whole issue by hand and then make a whole other issue by hand instead of going to a copy machine. And then it got it to be exhausting. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't keep up with my orders to fulfill. And then Gabriel Benuelos' older brother Ozzy, he was like a huge dude. He had like a hormone spike and was like 2 feet taller than everyone. He's like, my brother paid you for the and you didn't make him. So he punched me in the stomach and just walked away. And I'm like, damn, like this business stuff has repercussions if you don't follow through on what you say you're gonna do. Um, so distraction for hyper creative people, I'd say if one word could sum up my childhood experience, I guess it would be distraction and creativity to some degree. You know, always looking for something, like creating something out of nothing. I love doing that.
Well, and I think, and unfortunately, right, if you don't follow through with certain agreements, there can be immediate consequences like a punch in the stomach or getting, that type of thing, and some of those life lessons, right, we can take those on into adulthood and go, okay, it's it's different than playing a video game when all of a sudden your character dies and then you just start over again, right? I mean, it's
No
it's
consequences.
and so it's more real life, and I think that's the thing that I've loved about love about sports and love about art is it's a metaphor for us to follow when it comes to real life, right? Where a video game may very well not hold the same crossover because I can do certain things in a video game that I may not necessarily be able to cross over, and into real life. Now, true, maybe I can develop a certain skill set playing the video game, and then that may be able to be a crossover. For me, video games were never that. I was never really drawn to them, so I didn't practice. And then because I wasn't good because I didn't practice. So then I wasn't attracted to it, so it became a perpetual cycle where in sports, and especially certain sports, I had a natural gravitation toward them, and I found myself being average to above average. So I practiced them more. So then I got better at it. So I liked it more. So I practiced more, and it kind of worked in a positive direction. And I think sometimes, learning how to use our imagination, being able to make up the rules based upon, the group that we're interacting with. And as long as the group is everyone's agreeing to those rules, then it's a new fun game, and it ends up, working. And so I think there's some real benefits of being able to have that unstructured environments to teach us, skills of resilience, and how do we push through when something gets hard, or we find out that it didn't go the way we wanted. So, but we still have this desire to figure out how to master it. So
Hmm.
I think those are some, important things that free play in an unstructured environment can definitely be beneficial for us.
Yeah. No, and the wheels are starting to turn. I'm still waking up because it's been a rough weekend. excuse me, I'm not used to hard work. I'm not a hard worker. I'm a hard thinker. Like my brain, like if my brain was a muscle, it'd probably be all ripped and stuff. But so what I was thinking was is like uh people struggle with their job satisfaction, and their boss is a jerk or this or that, or all these relationship dramas. Um, this emotional intelligence stuff and self-awareness, like it's so big and crucial. But the problem is, I think it's a topic that can be uncomfortable to talk about and open up about. It's similar to, I would say, like um because when you're good at something, you do it more and more and you get better and better. When you kind of suck at it, or you're not as advantage as you kind of shy away from it. So if someone doesn't want to develop their social skills, um there's so many situations where you just have to rely on your intuition to get by. And I think it kind of equates to like, oh, well, we're getting close. I'll try to wrap that up. Kind of equates to like if you're, in a romantic relationship and you had to like literally ask out loud, like, is this pleasing you right now? Like that would kind of ruin everything. Um, there's something to be said for, um, I don't know what it is, but just having the ability to, you know, read the room, read other people, and be self-aware. Like, okay, my emotions are here because I got in an argument with my wife, or like, some guy cut me off in traffic. How do I kind of shift gears? This is kind of a good stopping point to talk, pick up next time. But emotionally shifting gears. I'm writing a book called Shifting Gears, about how to kind of pump the brakes on your emotions and how people can regulate that. Maybe you could help even write that book. I'd love to write a book with you. But emotional regulation, um, controlling your actions, like people that are in prison, especially, or preventing people from getting arrested and doing stupid stuff. Like, I think we've all been enraged to the point where we want to hurt someone, but we all have whatever it is in the brain that stops you from punching someone in the face, or uh whatever kind of violent outburst. um what are your thoughts on that, or do you think it's worth just moving on from that
No,
topic?
I mean, I know, I definitely think it's something to, what it reminded me of is, times where, I joke and I say that I may be, frustrated or upset about something, about some interaction with my wife. In other words, I may be upset that she's not meeting a need that I may not have told her about, but I'm now
Yeah.
upset about it. And
Yeah.
so I'm, in my mind, I'm going into that always and never, and I say that I'm pouting loudly now, and for me, what for me to switch gears, right, switch channels, sometimes I need to first be aware of, this is what I'm doing, I'm in this funk now, and now I've got this narrative going in my head that just is supporting what I'm already feeling and thinking. I need something to first I have to halt that, and then I need to shift gears. And music is one of those things that helps me. Film and music are one of those things that help emotionally shift me. So I have a collection of songs that remind me of who Diane is to me truly, right?
Mhm.
And so then I'll play one of those songs, and regardless of what is going on in my emotional side of this, it will remind me of who she is to me and who she really is. And it almost, I don't think it's ever not worked, right? I'm by myself, I play that song, and then all of a sudden I can come back from the grocery store in a different place because now I've emotionally shifted.
Yep.
The circumstances, or the whatever, that's the same, but emotionally my lens is different now.
Yeah.
And but I have to be aware of what's going on with me, and then I have to choose to put that song on, because I could choose to put other songs on that will just feed the anger, feed the frustration, feed the whatever. I
Yeah.
have to make a choice of which one is going to get me where I want to be. And just like when I'm, back in the day when I was working out, I'd play certain music to kind of inspire me or motivate me to kind of get pumped up. And in same way with this, if I need to ground myself, what am I doing? What things am I intentionally doing to ground myself? Because it's my responsibility, not anybody else's. And that's the biggest thing that I have to remind myself of doing. It's easy for me to do it right now because I'm in a good place at the moment, but it's not necessarily if I'm not in a good place, because then I don't feel like it, I don't wanna, and I want to blame someone else for it. But in reality, it's not about anybody else, it's about me. It's about me regulating what I need to regulate, so. But Frank, let me ask you real quick as we get ready to kind of sign off. I know you got a handful of different things going on. What is there a particular project you're looking at working on right now, or you're looking at launching? What's something you got where you're working on right now?
Great question. Thank you for that. Right now, I'm trying to organize a big fundraiser for Hello Gordo, our nonprofit. We're looking for other animal rescue or within the realm of animal rescue to partner with. We're looking at 4 to 5 partners, and it's going to be a week-long video shoot. I'm kind of calling it like the Super Bowl of content creation. The theory is to get these groups together, get some good resources going so we can literally create a Super Bowl commercial. Obviously, we're not going to have, $7.2 million to air the thing, but we're going to have quality because I know production. I know filmmakers, I know so many talented, wonderful people. It's just finding the people that love animals as much as I do. And we're going to have the Super Bowl content creation week, good experience, get some fundraising going. And the value behind that project is, uh, the partners will have content that they can put out throughout the year. So it's so hard and inefficient to schedule like video shoots throughout the year sporadically. If we could just do it for 1 week and do it well and do it right, we're gonna have a lot of, like I said, really good content, and partner with influencers. Like we have a NASCAR driver, talking to a PGA golfer. So I'm trying to link all this together to make it make sense. So if anyone wants to be involved in this project, get we'll put some information to reach out to me in the description. And uh yeah, just reach out. We could use you on set, moving lights or volunteering on the video shoot. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you've never been on a big video shoot before, this is a good learning experience and a way to get into the industry. We're always looking for good help.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing some of your thoughts. And obviously, as us jumping into a couple different topics about emotional intelligence and the importance of us being self-aware and then disciplining ourselves to regulate our own wherever that emotional state is. Regardless if it's if we're nervous about something or if we're angry about something, what can we do to regulate that? So I appreciate you being on and sharing that, and as well as sharing this new project you're looking at doing. So again, thank you for being on the show. If anybody has any interest in learning more about emotional intelligence or how to increase your levels of empathy, or wanting to get a hold of Frank, possibly being involved with learning more and possibly being involved with that project, definitely reach out. We will have his information in the show notes. If you can look up Frank there and get in contact with him there as well. And if you do have an interest in learning more about emotional intelligence, definitely reach out through the podcast or through fourcorners815.com, and I can get you some more information about that. So, all right. It's good to be with you guys again, as always, and look forward to being with you next week.